Hi, I'm Franc Palaia. I'm here in my studio in upstate New York, making this video for you to see some of my work. Because of COVID-19, I'm not able to be at the Saatchi Museum Art Fair this year, so I'm coming to you from my studio, sitting here in front of several of my recent collaborative pieces that I've done with Richard Hambleton's shadow photographs. I met him in 1980 at a party in New Jersey. He had just come to New York from Vancouver, Canada. He came to a party and no one knew him there, but I started talking to him and he seemed intriguing. He started telling me about this project he was going to do, that he was going to paint black shadow figures all over New York, mostly in southern Manhattan, in Soho, Tribeca, and the East Village. It sounded very interesting because at that time I was already photographing walls, graffiti, murals, street art, that kind of thing, so it was right up my alley. So I asked him if he didn't mind that I photo document his wall paintings, and he said, sure, go ahead. So he called me every couple of weeks to tell me where he was doing these, and I was really happy about that because I wanted to photograph them when they were fresh, black, pure, clean, unadulterated. And as you can see, the pieces behind me, the shadow figures are pure and black, and they have a nice, fresh feeling about them, and I loved his brushstroke. It was fast and determined and accurate. They were like, they reminded me of the Franz Kline black stroke paintings that he was famous for in the 50s. So as time went on, I accumulated about 150 perhaps of these wall paintings, the shadow paintings, and I decided that I should probably compile them into a book. So I made a simple black and white Xerox book of about 40 or 45 of the early shadow figures. It was an edition of 150. They're all sold. This is 40 years ago, so they're all sold. One of them is in the collection of the Museum of Modern Art and the Brooklyn Museum. What really caught my eye when I was photographing them is that they were in strategic places. He was very calculating. He put the shadows in places that would have high impact, that would scare and shock passers-by, and they sure did. In fact, Richard told me that they even scared him, and I thought that was interesting. The first shadow that I saw was in a dark alley, and that's in my book, Nightlife. And the last one, I think it was in the late 1980s, was on a tree, which I was surprised to see. I didn't even think to look at a tree to see a Hambleton shadow, but there it was. The atmosphere of New York at this time, this was late 70s, early 80s, and New York was in a really bad shape then. It was dangerous, it was crime-ridden, a lot of drugs, a lot of homelessness, AIDS was ravaging through the arts community. So it was not a great time, but in a way, the street art was something to kind of take you away from all the misery. And the three artists that are usually lumped together are Richard Hambleton, Keith Haring, and JeanMichel Basquiat. They were each kind of starting to do their street works and starting to get some attention. I concentrated on Richard's shadows because I thought they were the most compelling. Keith Haring was doing a lot of the small little crawling baby doodles, which were kind of cute, but I didn't think they were all that important. And JeanMichel Basquiat was a little earlier than that. He was doing his Samo cryptic graffiti, but he stopped. He only did that for a couple of years. So as time went by, these artists became more well known, and then the East Village started popping up with galleries. The first one was the Fun Gallery in 1981. I think Keith Haring had his first one-man show there at that time. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I do photography, sculpture, murals. I curate, and I'm also a sign painter, and I've done set design and book art. But of all those things, I actually like murals the best because, for one thing, they're big, they're outdoors, they're actually in the real world, and they have an effect on people, and they last for 20, 30 years. So literally millions of people will see your mural. You can have 1,000 shows in galleries and museums, and the amount of exposure you get does not equal a mural, because a mural is just there for a very long time. So you get a lot of exposure. That's what artists want, right? You want to make art that people can see. So of all the mediums, I think I like murals the best. They also can affect people in a different way. I've had some interesting comments of people who see my murals. I mean, they actually sometimes it changes your life, believe it or not. I would say about a handful. The first one was Leonardo da Vinci, just because I was so impressed that one man could do so many things so well. So I kind of modeled my life after him. I know it's a high bar, Leonardo da Vinci, but I liked as my career grew, I kept adding different mediums to my profession, and I managed to master a few of them, and so I feel very good that I feel like I'm a well-rounded artist. I don't just do one thing. I don't know, sometimes I get a little bored just doing one thing, so I like the challenge, and I like pushing myself and doing these different kinds of art. But other artists that I've admired is Robert Rauschenberg, just because I like the fact that he incorporated found objects and sculpture and painting and performance. He also was a multidisciplinary artist, so I like that. I'm always in awe of people that do many things well. Another artist that I like was Warhol, because he combined the discipline of different mediums, but he also included the component of business. He was such a great businessman and commercial activity, and so it made his artwork more accessible, more profitable, and he really he did it all, and so I find that impressive. And another artist that I like was not so much now, but when I was younger, was Yves Klein. I liked the way he was just fearless, and he was a pioneer in performance art and conceptual art, and he just did a lot of different things, and he did it with such panache. I like that about him. I can't really think of any artist that I'd like to collaborate with, but I almost collaborated with JeanMichel Basquiat. I had, it's a long story, but a short version is I met him in the early 80s because he saw one of my exhibitions in New York, and he commented that he liked my work, so I tracked him down and talked to him. As you can see behind me, my works are simulated walls. They're very three-dimensional they're like three-dimensional photographs that actually become sculpture. I fabricate these simulated urban walls that look like they're ripped right out of buildings, but actually they're all simulated and fake, basically. But what I was doing in the 80s is I was collaborating with a lot of graffiti artists like Crash and Daze and Riff and Tracy 168 and Vulcan and a few others. And what they would do is they would do their tags on my walls, which made their tags look more realistic, and that at the same time made my wall pieces look more realistic. So it was a perfect marriage. So I wanted to do the same thing with Basquiat, but and he almost did, but his art dealer talked him out of it. So so he commissioned me to do 2 small paintings for him instead, which is an interesting little story, but it's too long to tell. I have a saying that walls are the drop cloths of society. Whatever's happening in a country, I think you can see it right on the walls in forms of street art, graffiti, murals, posters, propaganda, etc. And so I think neighborhoods and areas of the world where there's multicultural, a lot of ethnic groups, a lot of languages spoken, I think it's sort of like a minestrone of creativity, and I think usually good things come out of that. And that's what happened in New York in the early 80s. Well, it's always, art is always changing, and just like life, it never stays the same. And usually with the advance of technology, that's really what predicts what artists will be doing. You know, before it was just painting and sculpture, and then it was photography, and then film, and holograms, and lasers, and all kinds of things. So it depends on what inventions come up. You know, there's mental telepathy. You know, who knows? It just depends. It's a kind of a marriage of creativity and technology. I think that's what will show what comes next in the art world in the future. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight on me and my artwork and what I've been up to over the last 40 or so years. So thanks for listening, and thank you very much to Oda Magazine, and thank you Woodbury House, and good luck to everybody. Thank you.